Friday nights at 9 p.m., it's time to sit back, relax, and play Conspiracy Bingo with Echoplex Media. We've curated the best conspiracy theorists the internet has to offer and turned it into a live bingo game you can play for free with absolutely no prizes but bragging rights. You won't find a live stream like this anywhere else, and that's probably better for everyone else's mental health. Tune in every Friday at 9 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/EchoplexMedia and find our full schedule at echoplexmedia.com.
Facebook is evil. Imagine a drone army of Mark Zuckerberg clones stomping on a human face forever.
I'm white, and I've got everything I need. No one clutches their purses when they're in a room alone with me. And I can drive for any neighborhood I please at any hour, and the police don't do a thing. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got everything I need. I'm a guy getting paid more than a girl with a degree. And I can walk down the streets after dark, no one wants to rape me. And I can get a girl pregnant and just as easily flee. Just like my straight white male dad did to me. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. I've got a pile of broken mirrors and I'm walking under ladders and I'm spilling tons of salt, but to me that doesn't matter, cause my skin and my gender and my orientation are the best things to have if you live in this nation. I recommend it highly. If I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. Shit's gonna work out for me, cause I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do the show live every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. And if this is your first time listening to the podcast, we're sorry. I'm producer Dave, and you can find me on Grindr.
I'm HK Perrin. You can find me on Mastodon at port87.social/hperrin. I don't tweet anymore, so you can find me on Twitter, but I'll never post anything there again. You can also find me right here on Twitch on my own channel, which is called Sylphweed. Sylph like the mythical creature, and weed like the stuff that you would smoke if you were a mythical creature or a regular person.
Who smokes weed? Yeah, shut up. It's cold in the studio. Stop calling me Dave Poole. It's cold in here. I'm trying to keep my head warm so that the brain works. Where people were complaining lately that my brain doesn't work. I figured it was because it was too cold, so try to keep it warm. Usually I wear a camouflage hat so that no one can read my mind, but we're going with a beanie tonight. Anyway, we tried to watch this during the post game of the show, like maybe a month ago. I think that's about right. A little maybe 5 weeks ago, and we were having some severe upstream issues, and I thought it was worth actually going over for the regular podcast. So this is from 5 years ago. This is Mark Zuckerberg being interviewed by Kara Swisher at, I believe this was at the All Things D conference, which has nothing to do with the song that played a few minutes ago.
And I believe this was before Cambridge Analytica came out, right?
Yeah. This was before all that. So
okay.
Things only got worse for Mr. Zuckerberg after this.
Right, so thanks, man.
So, Walt, would you like to begin? Well, why don't we do it this way? We do want to get to talking about the future, but there is some controversy that you've just been through. So let me just start by asking you, you have a business that's based on sharing. Obviously, people wouldn't go on Facebook unless they wanted to share with groups of people. But there is this perception that
that's not true. I go on Facebook just to use my VR headset.
Some people are on Facebook because they need to be on there for their business. That was already the case at this point. Like if you had a new restaurant in town and you weren't on Facebook, you were nowhere.
Yeah, a lot of people go on Facebook with zero intention to share anything with anyone.
Right. They're called brands. I mean, they're sharing things, but they're not sharing things about themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only on Facebook because I have to be for this project. The Facebook is like where we have the most followers and where we have the biggest potential reach. So like if you're a streamer with like a brand or whatever, you kind of have to be there. Same with Twitter, unfortunately.
Been on a course to push people's information into a position where it's pretty much visible across the internet unless they do a bunch of stuff about it. Is that a wrong perception? Have you been wrongly labeled with that, or is that something that you didn't communicate right, or what is your feeling about that?
Sure. So, I mean, privacy is a really important issue for us and for the internet. So we spend a lot of time thinking about these things. In terms of the settings that we have, I think that there are some misperceptions, and then some of it I think is in line with what we're trying to do. So, you know, the primary things that people do on the service, like you were saying, are they use it to share with their friends and the people around them in their community, and they use it to stay connected, right, and to kind of keep in touch with people. And, you know, there are different parts of the service that people use for both, right? So a lot of the time when I talk about sharing, what I'm talking about is, you know, people will post a status update. You know, sometimes I'll do that and make it available to everyone at Facebook, everyone at the company. You know, sometimes you'll share photos, right? You might go on a vacation and take photos with your family and only want to share that with your family, right? And you have
if you take photos on a vacation, share them when you get back so that strangers don't know you were gone.
Control to be able to do that.
Yep.
So that's kind of on the sharing side. That's most of what people are doing on a day-to-day basis. Then there's the side around
Facebook is like a stalker's dream.
You know, you don't start off on Facebook with all of your real-life friends already being your friends. So people need to be able to search for you, type in your name, figure out which person you are, right? I mean, we probably have pretty unique names, but, you know, our head of product's name is Chris Cox, so there's a million Chris Coxes.
Man, all this innuendo tonight.
Someone looking for him needs to be able to know, okay, we should...
But, like, this isn't true.
He's from this...
You know, you don't have to be... Like, okay, you know how you open up Venmo, and if you're standing right next to someone, you'll bring up your QR code and be like, here, scan my QR code. They scan your code, and then they have access to send you money. Like, why can't Facebook be the same thing? Why don't I have to be physically standing next to someone to friend them on Facebook?
Hey, keep
like,
that.
Why can I just look up anyone?
Hey, keep that to yourself. That's the next evolution. Keep that to yourself. we just told potentially hundreds of thousands of people our new business plan. Thanks, HK.
This place. And having some information be visible more broadly is very valuable for that. So what we've found over time is that there are really good settings for people to have to enable people to stay connected with them and find them. And there are good kind of default ways that people want to be sharing information with the community around them. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. Now, I mean, there have been misperceptions that say that we're trying to make...
So the thing that had just happened was a bunch of people's settings had been changed by Facebook at this point to... It didn't like retroactively change their old posts, but everything was public now. So if you posted and weren't like looking at your privacy settings, your next post would be public, even though your intent from having made your settings, you know, friends only before was to have your stuff friends only, and you would have to go in and change it again. That's
was this before or after when, like they basically made public all of your like, essentially what were DMs at the time from like the very early Facebook?
I don't
like
know.
Way back when it was like just college kids.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that that's the thing that they're talking about right here is that like your settings had changed such that if you just kind of casually went on and made a post and weren't thinking about it, that post would be public.
Okay.
And Facebook did that on purpose, right? That doesn't just accidentally happen.
Yes. Yeah. And he kind of waves his hand around it, but like he's saying words like, we've found people want to do this. And it's like, no, you've dictated that people want to do that because no one wanted to do that.
Or if they did, like my stuff's all set to public, but that's my choice.
Yeah. I should say like people don't want to do that. Some people want to do that.
Like a responsible way to do this would have been like the next time you log into Facebook, it says, hey, we've done some stuff with the privacy settings. We've updated them, added more privacy settings, and we're going to send you right now to your privacy settings page, and you can set your privacy settings before you do anything else. Boom, no problem.
Yeah, or at least call out when you're making a message, like a post. Call out when you're making a post, have like a little pop-up that says like, hey, by the way, we changed the default and this is going to be public now.
And then make it just push a button to say, change all of my posts to friends only.
Yeah.
Open or something like that, and that's completely false. I mean, there are big buckets of information that we recommend that you share with...
I keep all my data in a bucket. I don't know about UHK.
Privately, all the really sensitive stuff like your contact information, your address, your phone number, who can go and post stuff on your page, that stuff is all set to friends only. More sensitive stuff like photos of you or videos of you, we recommend that that's only visible to your friends of friends, right? People in the community around you. And then some of the more basic information, we recommend that that's visible to everyone.
Okay, now when you did that though, this was...
Or,
this is a complaint I
keep
hear from a lot of
your photos just friends. Like, why do your friends of friends... Like, this is what I mean about, like, Facebook is a stalker's fucking dream. Like, if you're trying to stalk someone in your friends group and they're not friends with you because they're not friendly with you, they could still see a bunch of your shit because of shit that Facebook does like this.
Right. Or if you want to stalk someone and it turns out you work at the same, like maybe a large company that one of their friends does, you make friends with one of their friends and now you can see their photos.
Yeah. And like, I feel like Mark Zuckerberg does not comprehend it. Or maybe he does and he just doesn't care. But like, he doesn't have the feeling of like, is it safe for me to put this here? Is it safe for me to say this on this service? Because no one's like, well, I guess people probably do stalk him, but he's got fucking security. And a lot of people get stalked and don't have the luxury of having security.
A lot of times the police ignore them too.
Yep.
people not...
And like, what is Facebook doing to help those people?
That though, this is a complaint I hear from a lot of people, not Silicon Valley people, is they come to Facebook with the beginnings of, these are people I know that I'm linking with, and I'm not sharing with people I don't know, and I will pick who I know and who I don't know. Some of these things were changed because you recommend them. Perhaps we don't agree with your recommendations. Why did you go to that at that one point? Did you expect that kind of backlash? Or do you feel like it's a blogosphere backlash that is just annoying people like myself? Or do you feel like it's an actual genuine backlash that people were expecting one thing and then you recommended something that made it so before they had a chance to participate in it, which was Steve was talking about last night. You tell them again, you tell them again, and you tell them again in plain English.
Sure. So, I mean, I think the most important thing is we recommended settings for people. I mean, we always do, whether it's when they sign up or, along the way when we launch.
Why don't you recommend the settings page to people instead?
Well, do you notice what he just said right there? We recommend things whether it's when they sign up or along the way. And what he's saying is like, he just changes people's settings.
Right.
Like that's what those words mean. What he just said means we just change people's settings. It's okay. If, they might not want it, but it's what we want. So we'll just do it.
Right. We're trying to run an ad business that is nefarious in a lot of ways, Kara. Come on.
Yeah. Like, excuse me, who owns the servers?
And I mean, that's fine.
This guy.
That's fine.
Decide what you share.
But like the responsible thing to do would be every 90 days or something, prompt people to be like, hey, you should go check out your privacy settings and make sure that Make sure that everything's what you want. And you might even be ethical in trying to nudge them, be like, hey, we recommend setting some of your stuff to public, but that's up to you. And then send them the fucking settings page.
Yeah.
Things.
Like people go to Facebook with the idea that it's not fucking Twitter. Like Twitter, everything is public, sure. But Facebook isn't supposed to be everything is public. So why are they trying to make it everything is public?
Investors.
Ask that everyone go and review their settings and make a choice for what they want their settings to be.
But that's literally what I just said you should have done, and that's what you didn't do. You just said, "Oh shit, your stuff, some of your stuff's public now." Actually,
all of that process, and we didn't change any settings or anything like that. I think that's a really important piece of this. The big feedback that we got that it really resonated.
Yeah, they did.
Was that over time, the privacy settings had just become too complex.
I mean, okay, so like if you introduce a new setting and set it to something that conflicts with how things were before, that's changing someone's setting. Like maybe it wasn't a setting before, but now it is a setting and it acts differently than the default before. That is changing someone's setting.
This is amazing. I mean, that this would be so much easier if he'd just go up there and go, I think we screwed up.
Yep.
Single product that we've ever launched. Right? From the beginning of the site, each piece of information that you shared had a privacy setting. It's not only whether it's public or private, you can set it to be open to everyone, you could set it to be open to the communities around you, you could set it to be open to just your friends or even a smaller group than that. And over years of just launching products and products and products, we accumulated dozens of settings. So it really resonated, to me at least, when people were saying, what we want to make sure is that we have control over how we're sharing information, but with all these settings, we're not sure how to use them. So that's what we did. We kind of...
Well, you did that on purpose, probably. I don't know for sure.
Purposefully obfuscate the settings and make it so that it's hard to be more private on their platform. That's what they always do.
Weeks building this, we built one main setting that people can now use so that it controls all of the information that they're sharing on a day-to-day basis, and you can just set it all to be open to everyone or friends or whatever you want.
Right, but there's a difference between sort of your user interface for your settings, which you have overhauled, and it's always good to be simpler, and I know that you can still go in and customize them and have the more complex view if you want, and that's all good. But the real issue is whether people trust that you're still on board with the idea that they thought you were on board with when they joined. And I think this is what Kara was saying, which is it's a place to share with people, a limited group of people, not an unlimited group of people, and certainly not the whole internet. And you did this instant personalization thing, you did these community pages, is that what they were called? Yeah. These things just came at members of Facebook. Mm-hmm. You go onto Facebook one day and there's an announcement from you guys that, oh, you know what? You know those interests you put on your page 3 years ago when you joined? Now they're all linked to some pages. And you're like, what? What does that mean? Who has access to those pages? What are those pages? In other words, you've done some abrupt things that, yes, there was a way to back out of them by going to privacy settings. But even if they were simpler privacy settings, you're still putting the onus on me to do some work to maintain the level of privacy I expected at the beginning. So the question that I have is not about whether your privacy settings were complicated or simple or better or worse, but why do I have to do the work to even go to them? Why are you taking preemptive steps that make me go and check and make sure that I have the control?
Walt Mossberg's one of the good ones. That's a good question. He's like, why do I have to do this?
Yep.
Why is it me? Like, again, be like, hey, we added some new stuff here. Check out your privacy settings. And then everything's set to like friends only or private. And then you could change it yourself, actually.
Yeah. Or like, hey, would you like to opt in to these new settings that make you less private?
Right. There's all kinds of things you could have done instead of just turning shit on. It's like, hey, we've installed new lights. Here, there's one right in front of your fucking face. I'm going to turn it on while you're talking. It's like, well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, I like the light the way it was before, not right in front of my fucking face. I was wondering what that thing was. Ow.
Oh, well, if you'd like to remove the light from in front of your face, just go into your settings and privacy center and then enter the privacy tab and then go to lighting and fixtures. And then under that, you'll see 5 boxes. One of the boxes is labeled face lights. On that one, open the drop down and click stop shining in my fucking face.
So you were taking a shower in your house that was made out of stucco. Well, we've replaced all the stucco with glass, and what you need to do is go into the settings and turn your house back into stucco and wood.
All I want.
Sure. Well, I think that how the system is set up is a really important part for how it functions. Right? And before I was talking about how there are these 2 primary things that people do. They share information with the people around them. It's never been, by default just your friends. It's always been kind of the community around you, whether it was colleges or companies or...
That's false.
Most recently.
That's super false. No, back when it was like you're writing on your friend's wall, that wasn't public. That was you and your friends. That was the default. The default was you and your friends. And whoever's wall you're writing on, their friends too.
The other thing is people want to stay connected with the people around them. And, there's this thing that we're seeing more and more. There's this serendipity in how people are sharing information on these services that can only happen when you're sharing it when you're sharing things with a broader group of people. So
serendipity for who, Mark? Right? Serendipity for your shareholders? Oh, this is just luck. Look, we're making more money now. Oh, my God.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Pretty recently, I've been trying to schedule a dinner just to hang out with our head of technical operations, Jonathan Heiliger, for weeks. And we hadn't been able to set it up just because we're both busy on different evenings. And one night I found, my dinner plans got canceled. And I posted something online that was like, okay, I'm going to this place, status, visible to the people in my community around me. And he replied and he said, okay, I'm there. So I ended up going and we ended up getting dinner, and it was this great kind of serendipitous moment.
But that's your employee. What do you mean you couldn't schedule a dinner with your employee? What the fuck kind of CEO are you that you can't schedule a dinner? Like, I'm pretty sure whoever works for you, if you're trying to schedule a dinner with them, it's going to be a nice place because Mark's got money, and that's like a high level person in the company, and they're going to be like, oh, how's Thursday? Like, what are you talking about? And also, in that scenario, he doesn't want everyone in Palo Alto to know where he's going to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll go there.
That's also creepy as fuck.
Well, if it's your
do you remember Foursquare?
Foursquare was I was the mayor of so many fucking places.
This is like Foursquare. Where like everyone can know exactly where you are all the time.
Right, but the difference between that and Facebook is that Foursquare, if you wanted to read a little bit about what was going on at Foursquare, you could figure out pretty quick that that's what was going on. They weren't telling you that that's what they weren't doing.
Well, I mean, that was the service. The service was like, tell everyone where you are all the time.
And then we'll make you the mayor.
Yeah.
But in this case, there's nothing creepy about that. That's somebody on his friends list or whatever. And he's like,
well, Facebook didn't start out that way.
Right. But what I'm saying is
Facebook wasn't meant to be like, tell everyone where you are all the time.
Right. But what he just described actually isn't creepy because this person was on his friends list and he posted that he was going to go to this place. And his friend or his coworker or somebody he knows is like, oh, I'm going to go there too. I will meet you there. Or, oh, I'm just down the street. I'm there now. I have a table. Like, that's not creepy.
It's a little creepy to me.
Would it be creepy if you were in town here and you said, I'm going to La Pizzeria, a place we've been to, or the burger place, Brown Chicken, Brown Cow, and I don't know, you posted it anywhere and I saw it and I was like, oh, I'll be there in 10 minutes.
I guess to me, it's more creepy. Like, posting it is more creepy to me. So I just don't post stuff like that.
Well,
I like you said about the vacation photos, I post after I do that kind of stuff.
fair enough.
Happens through sharing, and it's the type of thing that I think it's the type of connection that gets made on Facebook.
I'm a little confused. You wanted to have dinner with one single person.
Well, no,
Yeah, Walt's going to bring up my point.
I'm going to be there. So what I'm saying
Because
is,
you could have emailed him, right? Or you could have texted him or something. And
maybe
said,
I'm not doing a great job telling the story. I was trying to get dinner with him for a while. I did not expect that he was going to be free
I see,
that
okay.
night.
So you're talking about the idea
So I was going to a place, and I ended up running into a friend there, right? And that we call that serendipity, right? It's kind of a lucky coincidence when something.
Well, no, that's actually not serendipity because you posted about it on your Facebook and your friend found that's not luck. You didn't just happen to be there. A person decided to go there because you were going there and you were trying to have dinner, and that's actually fine by me. But that's not luck. Luck would have been if that person happened to fucking be there anyway, and you walked in. You're like, oh shit, HK, what's up?
Yeah, that's like essentially the opposite of serendipity.
It's
making plans.
Almost like making plans, yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why we consider this to be a lucky coincidence is because we miss most of the connections like that are happening in the world around us.
But you didn't answer my question. My question is, you seem to have taken some steps to make more public my information as a Facebook member on your own, by yourself, all of a sudden announcing them. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, what I really have is I have X number of friends here. I'm happy to have them see my photos or my status messages. I'm happy to know when their birthdays are, happy to have them right on my wall. Why is the management of this company saying they're going to take some of my information and do some things with it?
Well, I think what it means is there's different levels of what sharing means to you something different than what it means to Walt, obviously. Mm-hmm. You are thrilled if people know you're somewhere and they show up or something like that. Is there a level of privacy that just has to apply to everyone, or do you think, you might have a view of this is what privacy means to Mark Zuckerberg, so this is what it's going to mean at Facebook?
Yeah, people can control this right themselves. Simple control has always been one of the important parts of using Facebook. And
he just keeps repeating himself, right? He already said this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's trained. He's like an AI, they train him with training sets. They'll have sets of questions and the right response, and then they just feed it into his algorithm, and he understands with his AI brain that given this question, I give this response. And I'm not saying he is a robot. I'm just saying what he's doing right now is very reminiscent of an AI responding to questions in similar ways.
If it's this or call everybody a pedophile on your fucking on your website, I guess this is a little bit better.
Marginally better than
a lot of people don't
than
know
Elon.
More than 50% of Facebook users have changed a privacy setting at some point in their experience, right? So most of users go through their settings and it will tweak at least one thing. Now, I think that's interesting because it shows that people understand what the settings are, right?
The first thing you do is set your privacy settings. That's in the walkthrough when you sign up.
And not for nothing, the first thing you do when you do open any piece of software or go to any website or whatever is you're like, what does this thing do? You're like, what are settings? Let's go look through those. It's even if it didn't walk you through it. Yeah, most people are going to be kind of curious and be like, what are all the features of this thing that I'm using, or what can I discover today to use this? That's like saying that most people who try a word processor use the spell check, right? It's like, shut up, dude.
It also means that your settings aren't good enough for most people, right? If most people are changing the defaults. Okay, as someone who signed up for Facebook fairly recently because I was forced to use my Oculus, I logged into my Oculus account and they were like, hey, you need your Facebook account in order to continue. And I was like, I don't have a Facebook account. So they were like, sign up then. So I signed up for a Facebook account and I walked through and I changed all of the settings needed to make my Facebook account completely unfindable. You can't tag me. You can't search for me. You can't see my profile publicly. And that took like 20 different settings. Why the fuck does that take 20 different settings?
Right. There should just be like invisible mode that you can turn on.
Yeah. It should be, I mean, especially if you're going to force me to do it, to use a piece of hardware that's for gaming, there should at least be one setting that can be just make me hidden.
We think are the right settings for people, and then they use the product if they want. They can change it if they want. People are, but also the majority of the people who are going through this aren't changing most of the settings, right? So they're going through and they're seeing the settings and changing what they want, but also kind of keeping the things that they want to have. So to me, that's a signal that we're on the whole getting it right, but also doing a reasonable job of giving people control, so that way they can go in and change the things that they want as well.
So do you feel like it's a backlash, or do you feel like you're violating people's privacy when you do? Because some things do, for better or worse, whether you deserve it or not. Some of these, you're a public figure, you get a lot of things. Those emails back in college, they stick to you now, whether you like it or not. And it's probably unfair to. I don't want to see texts I wrote when I was 19 years old, or maybe last week even. But truly, why does that? Do you feel like it sticks to you, or why does it? Because you happen to run a service that is sharing. How do you explain the hubbub around it? How do you? And it must affect you as a person.
So I know this really doesn't have anything to do with the audio content or whatever, and the podcast listeners aren't going to see this, but I think Mark also didn't let them put stage makeup on him, because he looks kind of like flat almost.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 18 or 19 years old, I did a lot of stupid things, right, when I was in college. And I think, I don't want to make an excuse for that. Right? I did stupid things. I think they're
Boy, aren't you glad Facebook wasn't around to fucking record all of it?
Well, I mean, he committed his code into the repository that still exists today, so you can look at his code and how fucking awful it was.
Embarrassing.
But I don't think that's what he means.
Some of the things that people accuse me of are true. Some of them aren't. I think a lot of it has been pretty well documented.
Right.
The
Would you like to say which ones are true?
I think I actually don't even know, looking back. Like IMs are printed. It's tough for me to tell.
Right.
But I mean, there's face mash, right? I mean, there are some IMs that have been printed. There are pranks. There's blogs. It's.
I think the issue is.
I think he's trying to say it's well documented that he is an asshole and has been for a long time.
Company on the planet.
Yeah, no. So, but I think the interesting thing is that, so I started this when I was, started working on this type of stuff when I was 18. Started building this when I was around 19 years old, and along the way, I just gained. I think, a lot of stuff changed as we've gone from building this project in a dorm room to now having a service that almost 500 million people are using.
Whoa, only 500 million people.
He's saying on a daily basis. Their monthly active users are in the billions.
They want to know who you are and what you actually think. I mean, and you should explain that to them. I mean, in some way.
And I think in 2017 they were in the billions.
Because they want to wonder about the person who actually created this thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff happened along the way. I think, there were real learning points and turning points along the way in terms of building things. It really went from this position very early on, where we were just in this college dorm room, to we moved out to California. It was a few friends and me, and it just kind of had this project feel for a while, and there was this real turning point when companies started trying to buy the company for a huge amount of money. And, I had to kind of get my friends together, and we had to decide what was it that we really cared about and what was it that we wanted to do. We decided not to take those offers. And, to me, a lot of that decision was that what we wanted to do and what we wanted to spend, a big part of our lives doing was just continuing to push and kind of build products that help people share information, build products that help people stay connected.
Oh, said this is the back to the same fucking thing he was saying before. My God.
Yep.
And that's really what we're spending our time doing. And I think there's just been a lot of space between that early stuff and where we are now. If I knew what I knew now then I hope I wouldn't have made those mistakes. But I can't go back and change the past. I can only do what we think is the right thing going forward.
So, before we move off this privacy thing, and I thought that was a fascinating answer.
Okay, you want to take off the hoodie?
I never take off the hoodie.
I know you don't. What's with that? There's a group of women in the audience that wish you would.
No.
Girls?
Whoa.
All right.
Sorry. Yeah, that's okay.
Can you explain what this instant personalization thing was that you did, and why you did it, and what's the value?
Well, we were wrong about the date. This is 2010.
Oh, wow. This was before I started working at Facebook.
I should take off.
I started working there in December of 2012.
Here. Let me get someone. You all right?
Yeah.
This is a great moment in internet history.
What?
All right.
What are we going to do with the mic?
Put it on your...
All right.
Put it on the collar of your T-shirt. Do you want some?
Do you need some help?
No, I'm good.
All right. Okay.
So they definitely didn't have billions of users at this point.
Yet.
We're not going to yell at it.
No, of course not. That is a warm hoodie.
Yeah, no, it's a thick hoodie. It's a company hoodie. We print our mission on the inside.
What?
Oh,
my
really?
God, the inside of the hoodie, everybody. Take a moment. What is it? Making the
world more open and connected.
Oh my God, it's like a secret
Cool.
cult.
That's not creepy.
Look at that. Making the world open and connected. Stream graph platform, and this weird symbol in the middle that is probably for the Illuminati. 2010.
No, it's 2010.
Oh no. I read Dan Brown on the...
So what is instant personalization, and why did you do it? What's it?
Sure. So what we're trying to do is, we're building Facebook in this way, what we think is pretty different from most other sites, right? And it's a lot more engaging than almost every other website out there. And we think that the reason for that is that it's designed around people, fundamentally. When you look at newsfeed, we've done these interesting eye tracking studies where people use the site, and unlike most applications, people don't
way to not creep everybody out, dude.
Browse through looking at navigation. They browse through looking at people, right? It's like you kind of fixate on a person's face, and you navigate through that. So in a lot of apps, you might kind of go to messages and create messages through that. On Facebook,
so this was before they launched what was it called? Graph Search. I was working there when they launched Graph Search, so that was in 2013. They launched Graph Search, and essentially it was, how I said Facebook is a stalker's dream? Graph Search is a stalker's wet dream. With Graph Search, you could basically search for like single women near me who like wine, and it would show you like women located near you who had liked wine on Facebook, like how you add your interests, they could add the interest wine, and like it was creepy as fuck.
Navigate, they go to a person and they choose to send them a message or write on their wall or view their photos or whatever they're going to do. And we just think that this model is a more engaging way to build apps. And so we built a bunch of them ourselves, whether it was photos or videos.
Right.
And what we have the strategy where what we're trying to do is make it possible for everyone to build different social apps that are basically designed with people at their center. And that's what a lot of the stuff that we started talking about at F8, right? We started the strategy around 2007 where people could build apps inside Facebook. There are now more than 1 million developers doing that, ranging from the largest companies like Zynga that have really started the whole social gaming thing.
Well, that didn't turn out so well, did it?
Multi-billion-dollar industry. to a lot of hobbyist developers. And what we're trying to do now is make it so that people can extend that outside of Facebook, right? Because we never thought that it would all kind of stick within one website to the rest of the web. So we have focused on a number of different things that make it so that people can build these people-centric websites and apps on their phones and desktop software. And one of the main things that we've done is social plugins, right? Which basically it means that with a single line of code, you can just kind of insert a plugin onto your site. A lot of news sites have done it. ABC, a lot of different news sites, and that is a really simple way to personalize your site, right? And
how are you personalizing your website by adding some Facebook shit to it? That's not personalization.
Yeah.
That's a one size fits all kind of thing.
Also, what he doesn't mention here, or I assume he's not going to mention it, is if a website has that one piece of code that he's talking about, it means that every user that goes to that website that has a Facebook account, regardless of them being on Facebook, like they're not on Facebook.com, they go to whatever website, let's say it's like CNN, they go to some article on CNN, Facebook now knows that you went to that article. Even if you never interacted with like the Facebook like button, Facebook knows that you went there.
Yes, I know this because Facebook is not recently, but maybe in 2017 or 2018 was aggressively trying to get me to do that on my website. They were emailing me. I was getting little Facebook pop-ups when I'd go to the page for Echoplex Media. They'd be like, "Oh, we see you have a .com domain or whatever, whatever it says." And it's like, if you put this line of code on there, we can give you analytics about your visitors. And I'm like, no, absolutely fucking not. That's what we're not going to do.
Actually, since F8, 200,000 different sites have started using social plugins. And most of them have seen that their referral rate from Facebook users has gone up by about 2x, right? So it's been a big increase in terms of the engagement on the site that people have gotten from making their site more designed from the ground up around people.
All right, so
in terms of instant personalization is kind of the other side of that program, right? We're trying to make
by the way, also, one of Firefox's really great features was called the Facebook container. And what that allowed you to do is every time you opened Facebook.com, the browser would have a separate cookie jar for just that tab. And a cookie jar is a set of browser cookies. And the way that Facebook tracks you going around the internet is through what's called a tracking cookie or a third-party cookie, where you go to CNN.com, and because of that little piece of code from Facebook, your browser sends a request to Facebook.com, and that's what allows Facebook to know that you went to that specific website. And when you did that in Firefox, when you had this Firefox container, which I think this Facebook container, which I think is the default now, like you no longer need to add the add-on. Now it's just default. It will have a separate cookie jar that doesn't have your Facebook login cookie in it. So when it makes that request to Facebook.com, Facebook won't know who you are.
Designed around people, all these different websites, applications. And social plugins, I think, are going to be the primary way that happens. But for sites that are, more technical and want to build things, build, kind of the whole stack themselves, we wanted to have a program where we could partner with just a handful of sites to make it so they can use only the information that's open to everyone on Facebook to personalize things. So, for example, Pandora is an application where you can go, and if you've set your music to be visible to everyone, then it can access your music and it can start playing songs that you like as soon as you show up on their site. And it's a great integration, and it's a good personalized experience as soon as you use it that they've kind of coded in collaboration with us. So that's kind of how we see this whole
Why
picture
not
evolving.
why not when I log on to Facebook, say, hey, we've got this new thing with Pandora, if you happen to also like Pandora, which would do just what you just described, which sounds great. Check here if you want to do it. You did it kind of the opposite.
Well, we have that program. It's regular Connect, right? I mean, like any website.
It's been very popular.
Right, but what's the
hundreds of
problem?
thousands of sites have used
So
it.
why did you sort of put up a notice saying, what is it, Microsoft Docs, the other one was Yelp? I think?
So Docs, Yelp, and Pandora are our partners for this. So what we found
You are
is that
automatically now instantly personalized there without asking.
So what we've found is that, so a lot of sites are using Connect. It's more than 100,000.
Right.
But it's actually, even though it's just one click to click on this blue button to use Connect, it's a lot more friction than I think it seems, right? Because
What? Asking if you want to do something is just too much fucking friction for this guy's fucking bottom line, dude. My God, he just gave away the game right there. He's like, having to click this button is too much friction.
Yeah, by too much friction, he means not everyone will do it.
Right.
We'll just force it on people.
Right.
Without consent.
A site like Yelp, or you go to a site like Pandora, and you're going because you want to use Pandora, and it's not immediately clear what you get if you had a personalized experience, or if the site if it knew who all your friends were. So that's why we're doing the.
Wait, why does Pandora need to know who your friends are?
Yeah, this really fucking irked me a lot with Spotify. Basically, when I was trying to get out of Facebook, I had a Spotify account that I had signed up for using Facebook. Like I clicked the login with Facebook or sign up with Facebook. Yeah. And Spotify doesn't allow you to unhook your Facebook account if you do that. So once connected, always connected. And I really didn't like that. So I had to create an entire new Spotify account and transfer all of my playlists over, just so I didn't have like a bunch of fucking random people that I had friended like 10 years ago showing up in my Spotify feed.
Yeah, and like the other problem with something like that is just, what if you didn't, like in your case, they just deleted your account. I don't know. You stole their umbrella. They deleted your account. Fuck Facebook for that. Stealing their umbrella was based. And so you didn't do that. What if there was some error where Facebook deleted your account and you didn't even steal an umbrella from them, and they just deleted your account in error, or there was an outage at Facebook, right? Now you can't even get into your Spotify account. Like, I'm not big on like the government regulating tech, but I think stuff like that should be illegal. Like if you sign up for a service with, say I sign up, like I don't sign up for things with Facebook. If I'm in a hurry, I sign up with Google. But then if I can, like later I go back, I go, I probably shouldn't have a single sign on. I have a good password manager, and a lot of places will let you go in and just change how you sign in.
Yeah, I personally never sign up with any other account. I always sign up with just an email address and a password.
Right. I like operating under the assumption that all these sites let you change that. That's why I'll just real quick sign in with Google and then go back in. And I've never not been able to change that, actually. Even on smaller sites like
Spotify is the only time that I ever ran into that issue.
Yeah, even on like a small like upstart like Fourth Wall, I was very easily able to change that. Yeah. But also shout out to Fourth Wall, our merch supplier, eplex.store, everyone. My Lord, that stuff is wonderful in there.
Around social plugins and around instant personalization at the same time, right? It's this big push where we just think that all of these different products are going to get an order of magnitude better when they're designed with people at their core.
But shouldn't people make the decision themselves to opt into it? This is my last question on this, seriously. But
no, it's actually the first question.
Yeah, thanks. Shouldn't people? Well, I'm sorry if you don't think it's important, but I do. So shouldn't people have to opt in?
I think that making these products that people can share and that people have control and that are simple to do both is this balance, right? And opt-in versus opt-out is one part of that balance, right? So, for example, we've added a lot of products as time has gone on. When we launched the first version of Facebook,
this again. We've had a lot of products as time has gone on. When we first launched the website, we were in a dorm. Yeah, Mark, we know. We've seen the movie.
I think it was fine to make it so, I mean, you can go now and you can turn off messages if you want. You can make it so that people can't message you. But that we thought that was right to have as an opt-out thing. Similarly, when we launched Newsfeed, there was a pretty big backlash around that. I mean, that was actually, per the ratio of Facebook users, 10% of Facebook users were protesting, and a lot of what people wanted was, let us turn it on, or at least, just make it so that people have to choose to turn it on before they can use Newsfeed. Looking back on it, I think Newsfeed is such a critical part of the experience that it would have been pretty crazy if now, when you sign up for Facebook, if you had to choose that you want to turn on each individual one of these features if Newsfeed wasn't there by default. I mean, there are whole services that all they are now is a Newsfeed.
I don't know. I feel like it would be better, right?
I think it's a balance on all these things.
You do some of the picking and other people do some of the picking.
And I don't know if we always get it right, and we always want to listen to feedback and do what we think are the right things. But my prediction would be that a few years from now,
I feel like this would be like buying a computer and just having Candy Crush already installed on your computer. No one would do that.
Wait, no, that's called certain Android phones for a while, HK.
And Windows.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, not even like Dell, fucking Windows. Like you install it from their CD. You install it from their DVD or their USB disc. And it's like fucking Candy Crush on your computer. I'm trying to install an operating system. If I want a game with my operating system, it's going to be like fucking Minesweeper, not Candy Crush.
I don't even like some of the stuff Linux and like popular distributions of Linux installs by default. I'm like, why do we need this? But that app isn't like doing, if it's like some app I don't want. First of all, it's easy to remove. Secondly, that whatever that is probably isn't collecting telemetry data on me to sell to somebody else.
Yeah.
Wonder why.
Yeah, and the Linux community is a great example of like when you give people like power and privacy, trying to take it away from them is a big deal breaker. Do you remember when Ubuntu they had their Unity launcher, and you would go into like the basically Ubuntu's start menu and start typing something, and it would search for your computer for that, but it would also search Amazon,
right? Just in case you were trying to buy a copy of QLC Plus, which is just in case you're trying to buy a copy of
LibreOffice. It's like, hey, you want to buy LibreOffice on Amazon,
right?
And like everyone was pissed off. The entire FOSS community was like, Canonical, stop.
And then they did because they had to.
It got them so much bad press, and they changed it. To their credit, they changed it.
And not for nothing, this guy's whole project is built on top of open source and Linux, where he has had the option to opt in and never had to opt out of including services on his on their own web servers.
Yep.
When all these websites and applications, whether they're mobile applications or websites, weren't personalized in some way, whether it's through social plugins or Connect or instant personalization or whatever programs other companies come out with. But I just think that the world is moving in this direction where things are going to be designed more around people. And I think that that's going to be a really powerful direction.
Let's talk about where that's going. Let's talk about the next phase of social networking. Here you are, you've gotten to you're about to announce 500 million users and have a lovely party, I understand. What are you going to, 1 billion? What's the goal? What is the next phase of social networking? Because you have such a massive influence on the rest of the ecosystem now. What do you imagine? What are what are 3 or 4 things you see on the short-term horizon and long-term horizon?
Well, I think that the industry it's come a long way in the last 5 years, right? From these sites like Friendster and MySpace and the first version of Facebook that were really these walled garden sites. To now becoming more of a social platform, right? And I just think that trend is going to continue. So what we found was, Facebook built a lot of these apps itself, Early on, we built photos, we built groups, we built events, and those are respectively the most used photos, groups, events, applications online. And along the way, we just realized, we're never going to build all of these applications.
I believe Google is the most used application online.
So we started building this platform, and
but he said specifically those he believed that those were the most used photos. I forget, and something else in events apps online.
Oh, okay.
And he might have been right at the time.
So in their category.
Yeah.
Over time, and it's interesting because the privacy concerns that people have around having their information with third-party applications is something that I think over time people use these applications, they have a good experience with them, they understand the controls that they have, and they can get more comfortable as that happens. So that's one of the reasons why when we started with applications, we started off building it inside Facebook to begin with. But the goal was never to have all these applications built inside Facebook. It was to make it so that every application that gets built in every industry can be designed in this new way around people first. And that's really
I have to stop here. He's calling a place to put your photos an application on Facebook. I understand that might be the way that it works inside the system, but people just think that's a thing you click on the website. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the way he's communicating about it here, he's acting like it's something that functionally it's not, right? Like when you use it as a layperson who's using the website, you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to the Facebook Photos application. Right? You're just like, you click photos and it's a different part of the website. I'm sure it's got its own application that runs, sure. But like the way he's talking about this is really weird.
Yeah.
That I think it's going in. So, first we built the kind of some of the core apps, then platform inside Facebook, then Connect, now social plugins and instant personalization. And I just think we're going to look out, over the next few years, and a lot of the industries that there hasn't been innovation in for a while are going to have new applications built that are built with people at their core. Such as anything. I mean, I think Yelp is actually a really interesting example where, there have been directories of businesses for a long time, but now, now for the first time, there's this service where you can go and you can see what your friends like, and you can see what people around you are reviewing and people that you respect, and just being able to go now, and I mean, Yelp is one of the instant personalization partners, and being able to see what the people around you are connected to, I just think it adds an element to the experience that is both qualitatively good and is extremely good for engagement and use of the site.
Can I ask you what you think is meant by the social graph? Is that something that Facebook controls, or something?
This was right before they launched Graph Search.
And secondly, how can it be monetized in a way that's fair to the people who use it, who are included in it?
Well, I mean, so the idea of the social graph that we introduced this at the first F8 in 2007 when we rolled out Platform, and it was kind of our way of explaining the phenomenon that we thought was happening in the world. And the idea of the social graph is that if you mapped out all of the connections between people in the world, that it would form this graph. And what we're trying to do at Facebook is just try to map out the connections that people have, because we think that once those connections are mapped out, then you can start to offer all.
But they're also not asking people, like, do they want those connections mapped out and searchable? Because I feel like a large portion of people would say no.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only way to really search for people on there. And I'll just be honest. I mean, people wouldn't have picked up Facebook and used it real quick if they couldn't like search their friend and find their friend on there. So like, it is what it is. It ain't great, but I mean, it is what it is. It's the thing that the site does is allows you to find your friends or anyone actually, which is the bad part.
I don't think that's what he's talking about though. Like that's part of what he's talking about, the idea of the social graph. But he's also talking about like not just who you are, but intimate things about you, and like things, making those things searchable, when really he didn't ask, like, do you want those things to be searchable? Like whether you are single. So if someone searches for single people who work at my company, would you want your profile to come up for that if you were single and you worked at Facebook with him?
Not
like
with
if
him.
he's searching that,
Not
would
with
you
him.
want that?
I mean, depends who's searching.
No.
Depends who's searching.
I mean, you could have it set to like friends only. Are you cool with like any rando you've added on Facebook searching like single people that I work with or single people in my town?
I mean, I'm being a bit glib, but of course that's creepy. But like I said,
yeah, creepy as fuck. So like that's what he's talking about when he's talking about the social graph, because this was right before they launched Graph Search, and Graph Search was all about searching the social graph. So he's talking about not just like who you are, but metadata about you, things that you've liked, things that you've interacted with, and to a certain extent, web pages you've been to, which is fucking creepy.
Who within 5 miles of me has been to Pornhub in the last 15 minutes?
I mean, if you click that like button, that would show up.
Whatever. I mean, for some
that
people
would
that's
be
bad.
on the graph.
It's a graph though. It's rad. It's like mathematics.
Facebook.com and all the different Facebook services that people use, Facebook Mobile, all the things like that, but also start to enable this broader platform where
think about that.
Games,
Pornhub had one of those Facebook like buttons, so Facebook knows exactly where you've been on Pornhub. It knows what videos you've watched.
That's terrifying.
Yep.
Build. They can start to remake any site or application on the web around knowing who you know and kind of personalizing things to you. So, it's been this interesting thing because I think a lot of people have characterized it as if somehow we own the graph or we're trying to own the graph or someone else has a graph. And
well, it's your graph. What do you mean we own the graph? You own the graph. It's yours. You made it.
Yes,
it's on your fucking server.
It exists on their servers. They own the graph.
He owns
what he's
the graph.
talking about, he owns it. Yes.
That's the name of this episode. It's called We Own the Graph.
Not really how we intended it at all. We think that there is a graph in the world and that the best that anyone can do is try to map it out, and that even better now with some of the open graph stuff that we're doing, when different services can pool their different respective parts of maps of the graph together, then you can build even better services.
Yeah, this is like foreshadowing to Cambridge Analytica.
Absolutely. He's describing the tools that they used.
Yep.
They were just there to be used. And I'm sure they weren't the only ones using it, but other people using it were just trying to sell you a Jeep.
Yeah. But this is exactly what the guy, this guy on the left here, this is exactly what he was talking about. Like, if I don't want my shit public, why is it public by default? And that's the kind of stuff that Cambridge Analytica had access to.
They're a very big part of this graph, if that's the case. If it's built around people, a lot of things have been built around search. They've been built around all kinds of things, but not necessarily people. Where does Facebook, what kind of power are you in this graph?
Well, I think people rely on us for two things. One is just the service that they use on a day-to-day basis to share and stay connected with the people around them and their friends. But
this shit again.
Also, I think people look to us as the leader in this space, and I think that there's a pretty widely held belief.
The leader in what space? The social graph? Well, you're the only one who made it now. He acts like the social graph is just this thing that's out there in the fucking ether, right? That just exists independent of Facebook. And that they're just tapping into it. It's like a super sneaky thing he's doing here. He's like, your connections with the people would make a graph or some kind of chart or something. And I guess that's
he
true.
Literally said that.
I guess that's true, but you would have to sit down and draw it. Right?
But also, if you think about the way people use Facebook, it doesn't generate any sort of meaningful social graph. Does the connection that I have to my wife have the same weight as the connection that I have to some high school friend? that I haven't seen in nearly 20 years. I guess if they're a high school friend, it wouldn't be nearly 20 years, but
we'll be
15 years.
We'll be, 15 years for me too.
Social networking has come, and, having almost 500 million users is certainly a pretty cool milestone that we're definitely proud of, that we can serve that many people.
Actually, no, it'd be more than 15 years.
We're much
it would be nearly 20 years
than we are to the end. And I think that's a theme in a lot of the changes that we make, is that it would be easy for us to just kind of keep things going the same as they are, right? And, we grow.
Even that's not good.
Because people refer their friends to the site. We do no advertising, so, everyone who signs up for the site is doing it because one of their friends told them to get on the site. And certainly, on a day-to-day basis, if we didn't disrupt things, that would be kind of the easiest way to proceed. But we don't believe that if we did that, we'd be doing the best.
They advertise now.
Either us long-term or for the
I'm still fucking absolutely shocked that Facebook advertises the Facebook portal. I'd be shocked if anyone has bought it, and I'm shocked that they advertise it. Because, after you watched this, could you imagine an ad coming on your TV saying, "Hi, I'm Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, and I want to put a camera in your house that is always running and sending the video feed to my server."
Where we hope that the world gets to.
And
we can
you'll pay me for that.
Right changes, even if some of them are controversial, especially at the time when we do them. And we think that that's a lot of what kind of people are counting on us to do as the leader in the space.
And how does the social graph get monetized?
Well, there are two kind of primary ways. One is we can provide really good, relevant advertising to people because they tell us exactly what they're interested in and who they know, and those people tell us what they're interested in.
Right.
So that's one piece of it, where I think the advertising in these systems, I think, will get much more relevant than that in a lot of other systems very quickly. And there's some stat quoted today about how the number of advertisers in the system has grown by 4x over the last year and a half alone. And just having all those different ads in the system makes it so that there's more to draw from and that people get more relevant ads. The other part is around engagement, right? Because what people are doing on the site is they're sharing stuff with their friends, and the ads reflect that as well, right? So there are interesting examples like what we're doing with Starbucks, where this was their first, I think one of their first major online ad campaigns. And, they now have more than 7 people are connected to or fans of and like the Starbucks presence online. And the ad campaign that they did was around basically giving away some free products in their stores. And the ad was basically, it said, okay, there's this day where there's free stuff. And people invited their friends, and their friend, it was basically an event on the site. And people basically engaged their friends and got their friends to go. So in the same way that people are organically sharing information on the site, people are doing that around these brands as well, and it's proving to be really efficient for this kind of advertising.
So who do you see as your competitors? I asked you this at FA, back and forth, but who do you actually, when you think about
the CIA?
Would you think about?
At this point, it sounds like the CIA or like a stalker with $1 billion. So we'll do this last question, and then we'll get to the flip side of this. We'll let him answer this last question the same way he's been answering the other questions, right?
About it at all, who do you think about as your major people that you think about every day?
There's all the usual suspects in the space, but I think
such as
a different approach than others, in terms of trying to build the web in this way from the ground up around people. Some other folks have different approaches. Like Google focuses on building it around links, right? And different other companies focus on building out the ecosystem around different things. Apple is around apps, right? And certainly, I think we compete with different companies in different ways, but one thing that I try to do in running the company is not make some of the same mistakes that I've seen other companies make. We try to make different mistakes.
Right. Doing a good job.
Thank you. One mistake that I think a lot of companies make is they focus on what are the big companies in the space that could potentially be their big competitors, and I think people kind of over-rotate on that sometimes. The big example was In all the early Apple clips, there's all the stuff about how Apple and Steve Jobs are trying to rally people against IBM, but really what they needed to worry about was a smaller company, right, that few people had heard of at the time. And I think that's probably more apt, right? I mean, the world is changing so quickly now, with mobile stuff and just different platforms emerging, that I think it's more likely that the biggest competitor for us is something that we haven't heard of. And I think what that means for us is that we should just really stay focused on what we're doing, right? I think we have a pretty ambitious goal for the world and what we think will make the web better, what we think will make all these businesses that integrate with us run more effectively, what we think will be disruptive and make it so that new businesses can grow. And I think if we stay focused on doing that, that's really the main thing that we need to do. So I realize it's kind of, it's not.
It's a perfectly legitimate answer. That's your.
Oh, I disagree, and we're gonna put a fork in it here. That was not an answer. I think Twitter already existed. The answer, just because I say Twitter, I think Twitter is like the next biggest platform in this space. When we first started, it was MySpace. That's easy.
I don't know if Twitter directly competes with Facebook, though.
But he could have said it, HK. I'm not trying to split hairs on like who the market is for these people. He could have just said Twitter, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't. He went back to, well, we're trying to make the web a better place through sharing and all this fucking shit again. He just gave the same fucking answer again.
Yep. Like I was saying, it's like talking to an AI that's trained on like a very limited data set. It's just going to give you the same answers over and over and over again.
Well, that was difficult. We're not going to watch the rest of it. You are free to watch the rest of it, though, or listen to the rest of it. It is easy to find. There are probably a dozen YouTube links to it. I guess that's the end of the pod. I'll read us out this week, everybody. Thanks for listening to The Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do the show live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Go to echoplexmedia.com, click some things, find out some information about us, give us money in various ways. I'll see everybody in red light.
You recall a time
Did you know Echoplex has a 24-hour stream? That's right. Check out our 24/7 music stream at echoplexmedia.com/live or at eplex.xyz. Our huge self-submitted local music library plays the best tunes the Bay Area has to offer, and commercial free, well, except for ours, and even by request. Check out the player on echoplexmedia.com or at eplex.xyz. Bookmark it and enjoy it all day. Echoplex is very supportive of our local music scene, and we hope you enjoy the soundtrack they've so graciously sent in for us to play on our network. If you like who you hear, please go check them out. The names of the artists are displayed on the player at echoplexmedia.com and at eplex.xyz.